Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that helps you become your best self. And today we are talking about thoughts are not facts because your mind lies to you. But as always, before we jump into that, I want to say that I would love to chit chat with you and get to know you on social media. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo on TikTok and Instagram. So come over and say hi to me on those platforms. I have a lot of different series and mental health and mindset videos and knowledge that I share, especially on TikTok. And then I try to put some of that also on Instagram. And then on Instagram, I share like a lot of stories, like what I'm doing every day and like my thoughts as they come to me and all that kind of stuff. You're also welcome to send me an email with any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions. That is to realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. And again, both of those pieces of information are available for you in the show notes below. The other things that are down there is signing up for the weekly newsletter, which comes out every Wednesday afternoon, early evening, which I did miss this past week. So if you do want to sign up for it, you will get double the information in the newsletter that's coming up this coming week. There's also a link down there for you to RSVP for the new planner that I will be releasing. It's not like a promise that you'll buy, it's just an RSVP so that you know when it will be released, and you'll get information about the date that it'll be released, and then get a reminder that you are able to purchase it. And that will be like a super affordable planner, just so you know. It's not going to be any crazy like $30 $40 planner, $50 planner, and then just check the rest of the show notes below. There's all kinds of links and information down there that you might be interested in. But let's just go ahead and jump into today's topic, which again is thoughts are not facts, your mind lies to you. So I often live in a world where I am like the lowliest person. Like I'm so low and I am not, I don't measure up to other people around me, and I don't mean as much to other people, and I am just less than in a nutshell, right? That's how I often live that world in my mind. And I'm here, I'm being honest, it's not the best place to be at all. It's just me being vulnerable and sharing with you that I do struggle with that mindset, and I know that I'm not alone in that. I think I am less in comparison to everyone else, and that I'm never going to figure it out. I'm never going to figure it all out and how to live my life to the fullest, to the best, to make the best decisions, to figure out how to not let fear hold me captive sometimes. So I live in that world, but it isn't true, right? Any of these negative things that I'm saying about myself, that I am the lowliest person, that I'm less than, that I will never figure it out, that I'll never have what I want, it's not true. It's just what my mind tells me because, I filter in a lot of fear and judgment and opinions and reactions from the world. And I don't do a very good job of letting it all pass through if it's not true. It's like the filter system in my brain is not, how would you say that? It's just not appropriately set up. you know, the algorithm for what things stay and what things go needs to have a major update. Things need to be fixed. And I'm sure that I'm not alone in that. And that's part of the reason why it's important to, you know, make sure that we are self aware and understand how we feel and what we're going through so that we can continue to push ourselves to grow on the regular to continually become our best selves. But in regards to us, maybe you're saying the same things to yourself that you think you're less than and you'll never amount to anything or reach your goals. You might be asking, well, how do you know it isn't true? How do we know that these thoughts that we have in our head aren't true? It isn't true because if it can't be proven true, then it's not true, right? The evidence just isn't there. Or the flip side of this is it can be proven. And I'm not saying any of the examples that I listed in regards to what I'm thinking about, but something like, you're not you're not very good at math. Maybe someone would say that, right? And like on the flip side, this could be true, but not to the extent to which we believe it. And it's not that we can't do math at all. It's just that we struggle with certain types of math or whatever the case may be. And there's still always that opportunity to grow, become better and gain knowledge and stretch ourselves to know those things better to our capacity. So, it's just if it can't be proven because there's not enough evidence and ability to do so, or it can be proven, but we're just, we're blowing it out of proportion. We have entered catastrophe mode and cannot be stopped. I can often sometimes be there and it's not fun. I mean, it doesn't really feel like I am in the wrong in the moment, but I'm trying to alert myself of like, wait, we don't need to have a constant blow up or catastrophe about every little thing, right? But you also might be thinking, but it feels so true. These things that are running through your mind, they feel true. They feel like accurate, spot on. Like, of course, how could it be any different, right? And the reason it feels so true is because you are allowing it to be true. You're allowing what people say about you affect what you think about yourself and or what someone else says in regards to a certain stereotype or characterization of a person or whatever it is. And you are internalizing that and being like, "Oh my gosh, of course this is true because it seems like everything lines up even if they did not directly, point me out for this thing. It has to be true, right?" And, it's because you're allowing it to be true. And I know that's not what you want to hear and it's not comforting. It's just the truth, right? And you need to know the truth so that you understand how we get here and then where we can go from here to become better. And, allowing ourselves to be affected by what other people say about us or what people say about certain types of people or whatever they say, we're going to it's going to keep you trapped in this mindset if we just continue to believe those things are true. uh, where you get trapped in this mindset where you only consider the negative thoughts that flow through your head and realize all the positive or the encouraging or the acceptable things that are filtering in can actually help you. So instead of leaning more into those things that will help you continue to push and become your best self, even if they're illuminating and truthful things that could maybe cause you to have hurt feelings, it's still going to help you grow as opposed to really doubling down on all these negative things that you think about yourself. It's not going to help you do anything. You're just going to be caught in that cycle of self-cruelty, really. And not it's just so important that we realize that not every thought that flies around in our heads, in our minds, is true. And I know that this idea of talking about this isn't a new concept, but I think it's something that we all need to remind ourselves of because we're in our minds a lot thinking of things and we can be so cruel to ourselves and no one would ever know because it's all internal. It's all in our minds. And so it's important to highlight that we also need to be kind to ourselves physically and be kind to others, but also be kind to our minds. And you know, every thought that goes in our minds just can't be true because of the varying experiences that we have throughout the day that we misinterpret or don't understand or were fashioned to be against us, possibly. The different people we interact with. Sometimes we do and can interact with people that are manipulative and mean and dishonest to us on purpose, right? And so it's tough that anything that we are influenced in that way and we take into our minds that just it's not all going to be true. And the struggles that we can have with responding and reacting emotionally to what's happening around us, that can be another reason why every thought in our mind can't be true because sometimes again we overreact. We like jump into catastrophe mode and just think that the sky is falling and we are terrible and there's nothing that we can do. And I'm not saying that we cannot identify true knowledge that comes to us. We definitely can. We actually just over identify most things as true because it's easier than figuring out why something isn't true. And there's also less pushback when you just accept what is told to you rather than trying to challenge that thought or situation, right? So, and no one wants to be labeled as like being quote unquote dumb for saying something is the opposite of what others believe is true. So, if someone was going to come to you and be like, girls that wear these type of jeans are just like horrible people. And so instead of like challenging that, you would want to just accept that and then internalize it, and then it would just affect your whole identity if you like to wear those type of jeans, you know what I mean? Or you will now create your own internal bias of people that wear those type of jeans and characterize them and judge them for it because you decided to just accept every thought that comes into your mind as true instead of being like, that isn't true. And how do you even know it's true? And why are you saying that? But if like the majority of people that are around you believe that and you would be the only one sticking up for that, it can be really hard. And that can take a lot of courage and confidence to push through that and be like, no, this isn't true. So it's just another reason why we're just like, okay, someone told me that. It must be true. If they're telling people that, let me just go along with it, which again isn't true. This also leads me into mentioning that this also goes for what other people think about us and what they think about everything else in their lives. Again, about people who wear certain kinds of jeans, or if someone is telling you you're really bad at this or you'll never amount to that, it's also why it's very important to do our own research. Now, if someone's saying something directly about you, like you'll never amount to this, that, and the other, that's not necessarily research you can do. You just have to realize that what they're saying, there's a reason for them saying it. It's not going to be a positive one. It's going to be something that is involved with their own fear and insecurities being on display, and them not being self aware enough to understand what they are doing and how they are projecting their emotions onto you, right? But in regards to someone else talking about these jeans, right? I know it's a silly example, but it kind of lightens it up a little bit. It's important for you to go do your own research. You're like, okay, well, let me look up, like, oh, is wearing skinny jeans make you a terrible person or whatever it is, right? I just say that because I know some people are like, oh, skinny jeans are out. And for me personally, I'm like, oh, skinny jeans will never be out. You know what's going to be out forever? Low rise jeans. Let's stop bringing those back. But skinny jeans or like whatever it is, it's important to do your own research. Be like, get online and be like, oh my gosh, this isn't really true, or they only these people think this and everyone else thinks differently. That doesn't mean that I have to adopt their way of thinking or believe what they're saying because I decided to do the research. And just can't always believe everything that everyone says. You just can't, right? And because how do you know that what they're saying has come from a credible source, right? How do you know that they understand what they're talking about or whoever they heard it from, right? How do you know they didn't just get their information from someone else that didn't do any research or heard it via gossip or another reliable source, right? And this also goes for the internet, which I feel like I don't need to mention. And I hope we all know that by now. Because just because you read it on the internet doesn't mean it's true. Usually, it's important for you to look for like multiple sources of knowledge and then come to a conclusion of what you believe based upon the knowledge and the research and the text that you have read and understood. Does that make sense? Finding that expert opinion that is correct. But and you don't have to, when I say that you should do your own research and figure out if things are credible, I'm not saying that you have to pull out your phone every time someone tells you something. So you have to like fact check it every time. But I do think it's helpful to ask more questions to get a sense of whether or not what they are telling you is legit. But also, why did I have an accent with like legit? Legit. Also, a lot of times when you ask people more questions about what they're talking about, and if they immediately go into defense mode, sometimes it's because they are very insecure about the knowledge that they know because they don't know if it's right, but they're presenting it as right because it gives them this feeling of being like an authority, of being really smart and knowledged. And that can give people power and that can give people control, a sense of control, and a sense of people looking up to them, right? So if you do start to question someone, you're like, okay, well, how do you know that? Or how did you come to that conclusion or whatever? And they start being very defensive as long as you're asking these questions in a very nice, polite way without being like aggressive, then you might realize that they're probably laying their whole information on shaky ground. I'm not saying this is 100% of the time, Because there's been times, even myself, where someone will ask me, well, how did you come to that conclusion? Even though I have done all the research and I know what I'm saying to be true 110%, I just feel very scared and like lose my confidence because I'm afraid of like the fight or the argument that's going to come from them trying to convince me that I'm wrong, even though I know I'm right. So that's why I'm saying that's not 100% of the time, but usually at the tip off is like if they become very defensive, it's like, oh, well, why, or they don't want to tell you why. They're like, "Oh, just believe me." It's like, "Well, I would love to believe you, but I would also like to learn how you came to this conclusion because I find it very interesting and I'd like to learn more about it." Something like that. You know what I mean? So just ask more questions to get a sense of whether it's true or not. And if you feel very unsure even after that conversation, then yeah, you know, take a little peek inside your smartphone and figure out what the actual dealio is, right? But before we jump into some tips on what to do when we get stuck believing everything in our minds, I want to again mention that what other people think and say about you doesn't make it fact. It does not. I believe in this so much, and I know it's true to the point where I actually made like a video today and shared it on my socials because it's such an important reminder that I need us all to get it. I need us all to just like remind ourselves of this. Like, it does not. It really does not. And this is something I have to remind myself of every single day. So if that's you too, it's totally fine. Don't feel shame about that. It's fine. Because I believe that it's better to lean, and I know this. It's better to lean into this reminder that not everything that people say about you and the thoughts in your mind are true or even, you know, matter or are a fact. It's better to lean into that than let some random words that someone strung together into a thought heavily influenced by someone else's biases to have an effect on you, right? Their thoughts and opinions regarding you don't have to affect you if you don't want to, if you don't allow it to, right? And I know this isn't easy. It's not. I'm definitely telling you 110%. It's not easy, but it's the goal, right? And we should be striving towards that goal of not allowing these things to affect us so much. It's even harder when we know these people have influence over others. So again, if you're the one wearing skinny jeans and the main person is like, "Oh my gosh, people that wear skinny jeans are terrible," and then they convince everyone around them, be like, right, girls, right? Like, everyone that wears skinny jeans is terrible," and they're like, "Oh yeah, everyone that wears skinny jeans is terrible," and you're like, "Oh, come on, guys, this isn't true." But they're just that person is just influencing everyone else. It does affect us more that way. Of course, I'm going to be honest with you, right? It does suck that those things happen. But it still doesn't need to affect us if we don't want it to. They could just be like, "Oh yeah, terrible people. Look at you. You're a terrible person." And it takes a lot of courage, self-worth, and belief in yourself to be like, if that's what you want to think, that's fine, but I know that's not the truth, and I'm going to do what I know and feel is right, and then walk away. Yes, this is like a perfect example of how it could perfectly go, and like this is not going to happen a lot of the times, but if we continue to try to remind ourselves that this could be the outcome in some sort of shape or fashion in the future, if this happens to us, then that's the goal, and we continue to pursue that goal, we will get better and better at doing this, of reminding ourselves that what they say and what we think is not fact always, and we don't have to allow it to affect us if we don't want to, and we just need to continue to strive towards progressing in that goal, and it'll affect us less. Also like known as being unbothered, which is my whole goal for my entire freaking life. I promise you. So, okay, so here is it's going to be a little different. I know I said tips because that's generally what it is, but here is a sequence of questions to ask yourself the next time you get stuck believing every thought that pops into your mind, regardless of whether someone said it to you about you, or you heard it, or you read it, or whatever it may be. Okay. And so there's like going to be 8 little like quick sections. Most of them do involve a question or a way for you to shift your mindset. You know what I mean? Okay, let's jump in. So, number 1, ask yourself, is this thought true? And, it doesn't necessarily have to be out loud. I like to ask myself questions out loud because I feel like I'm actually entering a real conversation that will benefit me. But if that's not your jam, just ask it in your mind. Maybe you want to journal it out. I don't know. But ask yourself, is this thought true? Is it true? And be honest, okay? Don't just be like, oh, of course it's true because such and such said it. No, no, not just because you read it somewhere, not because like someone on the internet or someone on television said it to be true. Like, is this true? Is it actually true? Now, number two, if the answer is no, it's not true, then move right along. Then you're good. You release it. You're just like, okay, this is not true. Let's just move on, right? But if yes, if you are like, is this thought true? And you're like, yes, it's true. Ask yourself, how can I prove it's true? Like, how? How can you prove it? How can you deliver to yourself evidence, enough clear and, what do they use? I forget what word they use. It's just like this evidence that literally can't be overturned. How can you prove it? How can you prove that people that wear skinny jeans are terrible? Right? Because you're like, oh, skinny jeans, people with skinny jeans are terrible. And you're like, is this thought true? And you're like, yes, even though the answer is no. But you say yes, and you're like, okay, well, how can I prove this? And then you're like, okay, well, this person said it was true. Nope, that's not an option. That's not an option. It's not. You have to go look it up yourself. Can you prove it by the internet? Like looking up articles? Can you prove it by like asking several people, like taking a poll of random people that you know? Right? Is it in a book? Is it the same thought and mindset that a mentor, someone you look up to, would have? How can you prove it's true? For it to be true, you have to be able to prove it's true. And if you can't, then it's not. And then you can just let it go. Number three, if it's because you didn't know something, like that's the reason why. Like if you're like, how can I prove it's true? And you prove it's true by the fact that it's because you didn't know something that you felt was expected. Like you were expected to know that people that wear skinny jeans are terrible. I want you to ask yourself, are there other people who also don't know this? Or if the example is like, you're in your mind, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst person in the world at math. And then you ask yourself, well, how can I prove that? And your proof is, oh, it's because I'm the only person that didn't know how to do this equation, right? And then you ask yourself, are there other people who also don't know this? Because if you single yourself out and you're like, well, I didn't know this, it's really easy to fall into a pity party and focus on you, rather than expanding your perspective of the situation and the thought and being like, okay, but maybe it's a consensus that a lot of people don't know how to do this. Maybe everyone, or just maybe a good group of people that would allow you to understand that you're not alone in this so you don't fall into that pity party. And I think this is important because despite the fact that it's not always seen this way, a lot of people like to share when someone shares that they're going through something or they have gone through something, and other people are like, oh, I know what you're going through. Or they're like, oh, you're not alone. A lot of people take that in a callous way or like a way of like, why are you talking about what you're going through? Because I really need to release and vent about what I'm going through. But in reality, it's people. I don't know if everyone has this same like desire or, in their like this idea in their heart, but I think that that could be helpful depending upon the way you go about it because it allows you to understand that you don't have to fall into a pity party because you're not the only person that has been affected by this. And by widening your perspective to see that other people have also gone through this, you understand that there is a support system. There are other people that you can draw knowledge off of. There are other people that can you guys can get together and support each other if you wish. There are so many different options. So you don't have to like single in on woe is you and be sad and fall into that pit of despair. You can you're gonna just like take a couple steps back and be like, oh, okay, it's not just me, right? And it also makes you feel like less self-conscious and not allow your self-worth to dip so much because you realize this isn't just a me thing. This is like a several people thing, right? So are there other people who also don't know this? So it's kind of like, oh, just because they say that this is bad, but then you find out, oh, this isn't true, that people that wear skinny jeans are terrible. Okay, this you might get back onto that journey, that mindset journey of like, oh, well, this probably isn't true. You know what I mean? Okay, number 4. And just so you know, if you get lost in the sequence of questions that I'm asking, again, check the show notes because they're all like written out there and it'll be easier to see from like where we're going because I'm also like, taking a couple steps back to like so we are still locked into like where we are in the sequence, if that makes sense. Okay, so number 4, ask yourself, why is it okay for them not to know? And why do I have to know? So, the reason you would ask yourself this question is that in number 3, when you were like, are there other people who also don't know this? So, let's just like switch because, like, I don't think my skinny jeans example really like follow through this whole questioning thing. So let's just say spreadsheets because it's literally something I don't know very well at all. And so let's say the thought is like, um, I'm like the worst person ever at spreadsheets. And you ask yourself, is this thought true? And you're like, yes. And you're like, how can I prove it? Because I don't know how to do spreadsheets. And it feels like everyone around me knows exactly how to do these certain formulas in the spreadsheets. And then number 3 was, I mean, are there other people around you who also don't know this? And you can say, you might want to lean in and say no, but you have to be honest and take a moment to really think about, okay, yeah, yeah, why, yeah, there are other people that don't know how to do this. And then you would jump into number 4, where we are now. Why is it okay for them to not to know, right? Why is it okay for them not to know how to build spreadsheets with these beautifully done formulas? Like, why is it okay for them not to know, but you have to know? Like, why do I have to know how to do spreadsheets? It's like finding out, like, why is the expectation there for you and it's not for everyone else? Because that's not really fair. And again, life isn't fair. That's fine. But it's really asking, like, why for them? Why not for them, but for you? Right? You know what I mean? And that can really help you figure out, like, why you have zoned in and isolated yourself in this negative thought when really it's like, okay, so it's a normal thing for people to not know how to do, especially if they don't practice in it and don't spend enough time doing it. Freaking spreadsheets. Then it's going to be totally normal for them not to know it. And it's okay and totally normal for you not to know it. And so just realize that we're never truly alone in things that we don't know what to do or things that we've been like, characterized as. And it's okay because sometimes we just don't know. Sometimes we're naive. Sometimes we don't understand, and that's perfectly fine. So it's not true that we're like the worst person in the world at Excel. Maybe we're number, I don't know, 1,255 worst at Excel in the world, and that's okay. It's totally okay. Okay, number 5. If this is about, so instead of it being about like something like, maybe you felt like it was about something that you didn't know, instead of that, if this is about what someone else said about you, like an opinion or a judgment, whatever. So whether they said it directly to your face or they said it to someone else and it ended up being gossip or something that you read online or wherever, you know, if this is about someone else, what someone else said about you, ask yourself, does their opinion change what I am capable of doing, what I'm currently working on, and the progress I'm currently achieving? Okay? So, does their opinion change what I am capable of doing? The answer is always going to be no. No. No one will ever be able to change what you are capable of doing. Maybe they will be able to change, like you actually taking action to doing it, but no one will ever be able to change and get in the way of what you're capable of doing. And if you are one of those people that are overgeneralizing what I'm saying right now, and you're like, okay, well, what happens if they like come and cut my arms off? Like, then what am I supposed to do? Okay, yeah, that might be, they might get in the way of you being capable of doing whatever you're doing if you needed your arms. But please don't generalize things like that. It's not helpful and it doesn't make you look smarter at all. It honestly makes you look petty and like you are attention seeking. and you have your own insecurities to deal with of people pointing out that you're wrong or you're not true or whatever. And so you're just projecting that onto other people. Please remember that. But generally, the answer is no. Their opinion will not change what I'm capable of doing, right? And in its opinion. So even my example of like, well, like the generalist being like, well, what if they cut off your arm? Like, you know, it's just still the same. I just threw a generality in there because it often happens, and I want people to understand like, don't just like jump to the most general thing that you can think of, the worst case scenario, right? It's like, does their opinion change what you're capable of? No, it does not. Does their actions? Maybe. Maybe it does. The next question, like, what am I capable? Does it change what I'm capable of? Does their opinion change what I'm currently working on? It shouldn't. It might, because you might psych yourself out. You might stop believing in yourself. Your self-worth might go in the toilet, and that might abruptly stop your desire to continue to work on what you're working on. But it doesn't need to, right? What you're currently working on doesn't really have to, be related to what someone else's opinion is about you, because you've been working on it this far. And just because they came in and said whatever they said, even if it wasn't that bad, even if it was something neutral, when you thought that everything you were doing is great and they were just like, oh, it's neutral, that can even like set someone off, right? But it doesn't have to. You could just continue working on what you're working on, because their opinion doesn't really have to change what you're currently working on. And does their opinion change the progress I'm currently achieving in like whatever goals and things that you're going after? It shouldn't, because the reason it shouldn't is because you should be able to reflect back on the progress that you've currently made and what you've done to get there and how you were able to do it before their opinion ever came along. So why does their opinion have to affect you now? Why does it? It doesn't. It really doesn't. So does their opinion change what I'm capable of? No. What does their opinion change what I'm currently working on? No. And does their opinion change the progress I'm currently achieving? No. It doesn't have to. Number 6. I almost said number 7. Um, number 6. Also ask yourself, why do I care about their opinion? Why am I letting it affect me? This is a great question to ask yourself because it's a very straightforward question. You're not beating around the bush with yourself. You could even ask this to someone you're close to and you feel like you have a relationship enough to ask them this question, like, why do you care about their opinion? Why are you letting it affect you? But if you're asking yourself, you're like, why do I care about their opinion? Why am I letting it affect me? Mm-hmm. Do you care because you feel like they do influence other people, and so you want to stay on the positive side of their opinion so that when they do influence other people about you, it'll be positive? But why would you care about that? Because if they're influencing people to think whatever they think and they're terrible about what the things they say about you or judgments that they pass on other people, then why the heck would you care about the minions that they are influencing that are just going with whatever that person tells them to do? You know what I mean? So why do you care about their opinion? And also really thinking, this might be harsh, but really caring about people who allow others to sway their thoughts and mindsets and opinions so easily is worthless, because obviously they struggle with thinking for themselves, and it's easier for them to just people please and latch on to whatever someone else tells them to do because it's more comfortable, it feels safer, and it's easier, truly. So it's worthless to really, care about what they think about you, because it means nothing, really. They're really just like a projection of that person, to be honest. But yeah, ask yourself, why do I care about their opinion? Why am I letting it affect me? We shouldn't. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Number 7. Number 7 of 8. If you ask someone else if this thought was true, would they agree? So if you ask someone, oh my gosh, do you think it's true that I'm like the worst person at Excel or at spreadsheets in the entire world? You just got to ask them, Do you like someone you trust, someone you look up to, someone that you can be safe with and have these wonderful conversations with? Ask them. Ask someone else. And granted, it's not necessarily you looking for validation of whether what is being said or not is true. It's just getting an outside perspective of being like, just like tell them like very blank. Don't tell them a big story or a big like understanding of what's happening. Just be like, do you think this is true or not? Yes or no? And then they'll give you their answer. And then number 8, if they don't, so if you ask them, would they agree? And they don't agree, then you know it's your mind embellishing this truth. Your mind is saying that you're the worst person at doing spreadsheets and you have to feel sorry for yourself and you're terrible. And this is like another thing for you to feel very, have a lot of self doubt and to feel embarrassed about all those things. But if you ask them if they think, if you ask them like if they think this thought was true and if they would agree, if they do agree, if they're like, yeah, I think you are like the person, the worst person I know that's at spreadsheets, at doing spreadsheets, that might burn a little bit, but it's better for them to be honest. So if they do say, yes, I do agree, I want you to ask yourself, what can I do to work on this? Or who should I ask for help? Just because someone does illuminate and agree and like, certify that, yes, you are really bad at this thing, right? It doesn't mean that you are terrible. It doesn't mean you have to feel bad about yourself. It doesn't mean that it's going to be this, cross for you to bear and burden to carry around for the rest of your life that's going to ruin everything else. It does not mean any of that. It just means like, okay, well, I had this thought. I've confirmed that it's true. Other people agree. Great. What can I do now? As opposed to feeling sorry for yourself and having a victim mentality and not doing anything, you should figure out what to do next. So you're like, okay, what can I do to work on this, to get better at this? Or who should I ask for help? Because if I don't know what to do, then I need to find someone to help me, at least get the first step going, and then I can move forward. And maybe one day I will be able to do a basic freaking spreadsheet. So, yeah, instead of feeling bad about yourself, ask yourself, what can I do to work on this? Or who should I ask for help? Right? But just coming back to the really silly example of like, maybe you ask someone, you're like, oh, I heard that people that wear skinny jeans are terrible people. Do you agree? And if they say, yes, I do agree. The part about what can I do to work on this, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to make a change. Maybe again, you're like me, you like skinny jeans. But they agree that yes, people that wear skinny jeans are terrible. Then what you can work on is just being okay with people thinking you're terrible. Because it's still, just because they certify that they believe that that's true, doesn't mean it has to be true for you. Anything that anyone says that they're like, yeah, that's true, it doesn't mean it has to be true for you. If people honestly don't think that you're capable of doing this, that, and the other, they don't think that you're going to reach your goals, they don't think that you will be able to have this, like start this business and be able to keep it going, it does not mean that you have to believe it. So you're a part of what can I do to work on this? I can work on just believing what I know is true in my heart and my mind and push myself forward and just prove to myself that I can do it. And then the part where it's like, who should you ask for help? Find someone that could be on your side to support you, to lean on, and that could be there and help you rally if you need it to keep going. So, yeah, you can choose to do work on something if you do need to change it, like you do need to get better at spreadsheets, like I do. Or you can choose not to, and you can choose to just do the work of, you know, self esteem, self work, understanding your emotions better, believing in yourself, and sometimes being in a season of you're the only one pushing forward by yourself and encouraging yourself because other people fell off the deep end. Who knows? So, both of those options are available, and I just needed you to know that. But that is all that I have for you today. That is a sequence of questions you should ask yourself the next time you get stuck believing every thought that pops into your mind. So, thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, with me, Sabrina. please do not hesitate to check the show notes for where to find me on social media, sign up for the newsletter, RSVP for the planner, send me an email, and all the other things that are down there. But thank you so much for listening, downloading, sharing the show. Until next time, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.